In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, stood a house that looked no different from the rest. A home too ordinary to raise suspicion. But behind its locked doors, evil was growing like a disease. A monster lived there, and for over a decade, no one ever knew. Ariel Castro was born on July the 10th, 1960, in the city of Yauco, Puerto Rico. His family immigrated to Cleveland when he was still a child, raised in a large, deeply rooted Hispanic community. The young boy grew up in the working-class neighborhoods of Ohio's West Side. To outsiders, the Castro family seemed ordinary, but behind closed doors, violence was never far from reach. His father, Nona Castro, ran a small used car business before passing away in 2004. His uncle, Julio Castro, owned a local corner store and was well respected in the community. Ariel, though, was already on a darker path. In 1992, Castro bought the house at 2207 Seymour Avenue. A seemingly average two-story home. He moved in with his partner, Grimilda Figuero, and their 4 children. But this was not a happy home. According to relatives and court records, Grimilda endured years of brutal abuse. Ariel controlled every part of her life. He beat her, locked her indoors, and trapped her like a prisoner. Once he knocked her down the stairs. Another time he locked her in a box. Eventually, in 1996, she escaped the house with her children, broken, frightened, but alive. That year, she filed a domestic violence complaint. It accused Castro of breaking her nose, ribs, and arms. But despite the severity of her injuries, no charges stuck. Ariel Castro was left alone in his house. No one watched him, no one followed up, and that's when the real horror began. Michelle Knight was 20 years old. A small woman, quiet, vulnerable, already scarred by life. She was alone, on foot, on her way to a custody hearing, desperate to regain her son. She was late, she was lost, and she was running out of time. That's when a familiar face appeared. Ariel Castro, the father of one of her friends. She recognized him. He smiled, waved. He asked if she needed a ride. Michelle hesitated, but she was desperate. And he seemed kind, trustworthy, just another dad from the neighborhood. But Castro didn't take her to court. He told her that he needed to stop by his house for a moment, just to grab something. "Come in," he said. "It'll only take a second." The moment she stepped inside, Michelle noticed things were off. The windows were boarded up. The air was stale. There were no signs of a family home. No sounds, no laughter, just silence. She tried to turn back, but it was too late. The door slammed shut behind her, fast, violent. Then came the metallic clang of a bolt sliding into place. She had just walked into her own prison, and the man who smiled and offered her help had no intention of letting her leave. The day before her 17th birthday, Amanda Berry had just finished a shift at Burger King. As she walked home, Castro pulled up beside her. She also knew him. He was a familiar face in the neighborhood. He offered her a ride. She accepted. Her family would search for her for years. Her mother would die never knowing the truth. All the while, Amanda was trapped, just like Michelle, just a few feet from the street, just beyond reach. Gina DeJesus, 14 years old, a bright student, a best friend to Ariel Castro's own daughter, Arlene. That day, Gina was walking home from school when she vanished. She had no idea her friend's father was her captor. He took her like the others, lured her in, locked the door, and added her to his collection of suffering. Inside Castro's home, the women were chained, shackled, starved. He kept them first in the basement, later in locked, soundproofed rooms. Covered windows, barred doors, makeshift barricades. When Michelle became pregnant, he beat her until she lost the baby 5 times. When Amanda Berry became pregnant, he allowed it, forced her to give birth alone in a plastic kids' pool. If she hadn't succeeded, he said he'd kill her. All the while, Ariel Castro continued living what seemed to be a normal life. He played bass in the local Latin bands, socialized, smiled. He even joined the search vigils for Gina. He hugged her grieving mother, lit candles for the girl, chained in his attic. His neighbours had no idea. Some shared meals with him, drank beer, laughed. They said he was just a regular guy. Ariel Castro was a school bus driver for 22 years. An unassuming job, one that gave him access to children, to families, to the very community he would come to terrorize. He was trusted by parents. He was a fixture in the neighborhood. But like so many others, no one ever looked twice at the man behind the wheel. Authorities had multiple chances to stop him. In 2000, they visited his house. In 2004, he left a child on a bus. In 2009, he was cited for reckless behaviour. And in 2012, he was finally fired after abandoning a bus unlocked 2 blocks from home. But no one opened the right door. No one looked inside 2207 Seymour Avenue. For over a decade, these women were ghosts, living in chains, silenced by fear, erased from the world, trapped in a house that was anything but a home. The basement, where they were first confined, was a cold, damp hell, a room stripped of warmth, of any human decency, a concrete floor, no windows, the only light flickering dimly from a solitary bulb above. They were chained to the walls, not just physically bound, but emotionally broken, kept in isolation. Ariel would come and go, but he would never leave them alone. Every moment was one of terror. His presence an unrelenting reminder that escape was impossible. If they dared to speak, they were punished. If they cried, their pleas fell on deaf ears. There was no escape, no one to hear them, and no one to help them. For over 3,000 days, they were invisible. Every day a struggle to survive, not knowing if they would see another sunrise. But the door wouldn't stay shut forever. May the 6th, 2013, a seemingly ordinary day. Amanda Berry was watching Ariel leave the house. For once, he didn't lock the inside door. The heavy storm door remained chained, but the barrier was weaker than usual. She knew this was her chance. Desperate, Amanda screamed with everything she had. Her voice raw, hoarse from a decade of silence, echoed into the open air. She had been silenced, locked away for so long, but now she broke free from the darkness, from the chains that bound her for years. After 10 years of being a ghost, of being unheard and unseen, she made noise. Her cry shattered the oppressive silence of captivity.
I heard screaming. I meet my McDonald's. I come outside. I see this girl going nuts, trying to get out of her house. So I go on the porch. I go on the porch, and she says, "Help me get out. I've been in here a long time." So, I figured it's a domestic violence dispute. So I open the door, and we can't get in that way because how the door is, it's so much that a body can't fit through, only your hand. So we kick the bottom, and she comes out with the little girl, and she says, "Call 911. My name was Amanda Berry."
Did you know who that was when she said that?
When she told me, it didn't register until I got the call in 911, and then I'm like, I'm calling the 911 for Amanda Berry? I thought this girl was dead.
Charles Ramsey, a neighbour, was the first to hear her. He was just minding his own business when those screams cut through the air. Something so unmistakably desperate, so hauntingly human, that he had no choice but to act. Confused and unsure of what was happening, Ramsey rushed to the house, instinctively heading towards the source of the cries. When he reached the door, Amanda was there, her body trembling, her mind still struggling to comprehend what was happening. Ramsey kicked the door in, and there, in her arms, was the unimaginable. Her daughter, a 6-year-old girl who had been born in captivity, never knowing freedom, never having experienced life outside the four walls.
And did 911 call. Take a listen.
Cleveland 911.
Hello, police. Help me, I'm Amanda Berry.
You need police, fire, or ambulance.
I need police.
Okay, and what's going on there?
I've been kidnapped and I've been missing for 10 years, and I'm here. I'm free now.
Okay, and what's your address?
2207 Seymour Avenue.
2207 Seymour. Looks like you're calling me from 2210. Okay, stay there with those neighbors. Talk to the police when they get there.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah, talk to the police when they get there.
Okay, I'm right now.
We're going to send them as soon as we get a car open.
No, I need them now before we get back.
All right, we're sending them, okay?
Okay, I mean, like,
Who's the guy you're, who's the guy who went out?
His name is Ariel Castro. I'm Amanda Berry. I've been on the news for the last 10 years.
Okay, I got that here. I already... Right, the police are on the way. Talk to them when they get there.
In moments, police arrived. They stormed the house. Each room they entered, each step they took, led them closer to the nightmare that had been hidden behind closed doors far too long. They found what they feared most, what they thought was never possible. A house of horrors filled with signs of suffering and abuse. Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, Gina were finally there. The things the police uncovered shattered everything they thought they knew about Ariel Castro, the man who seemed so ordinary, the man who lived among them, the man they had all trusted. The women were rushed to hospital, shaking, malnourished, scared, but alive. And after more than a decade in captivity, the nightmare was finally over. Ariel Castro was arrested just hours after Amanda's call. The world now wanted answers. How had this man, this normal neighbour, this musician, this school bus driver, hidden such an unspeakable evil for so long? The news exploded worldwide. 3 missing women found alive, all in one house, in one neighbourhood. A story too terrifying to believe. But it was all true. Neighbours were stunned. Even his own family had no idea. The charges came fast, and there were hundreds. By July, Castro faced 977 counts of kidnapping, assault, abuse, and torture. The prosecution called it a case of captivity, control, and torture.
Most of the sex that went on in the house, and probably all of it, was consensual. These allegations about being forceful on them, that is totally wrong. Because there was times that they would even ask me for sex, many times.
In August 2013, he avoided the death penalty by pleading guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison plus 1,000 years. There would be no parole and no mercy. Ariel Castro was now inmate A703296, locked away inside the Correctional Reception Center in Orient, Ohio, a stark concrete facility just 20 miles from Columbus. September the 3rd, 2013, 9:20 p.m. Prison guards found Ariel Castro hanging in his cell. The very chains he once used on his own victims, now replaced by a prison-issued bedsheet, tied to a hinge on the window of his cell door. While Ariel Castro ended his life in a cold cell, the women he tried to destroy began to rebuild theirs. Amanda Berry became a voice for the missing. She wrote a memoir and became a TV host focused on cold cases. Gina co-founded a non-profit to support abducted children and their families. And Michelle found peace under a new name, Lily Rose Lee. She married and found hope. 2 months after the women were rescued, the house where they were imprisoned was torn down, piece by piece. Michelle Knight herself was given the honour of starting the demolition. The house that once echoed with screams was reduced to rubble, erased but never forgotten. Okay, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on my next one. Thank you.